Hello, this is Sophie Lawson from sophielawson.com and this is episode 185 of the Sophie Art Podcast, which is a little podcast that I do about the art and things. lilDENNiS is with us today and we're sitting at my little desk and we're going to do another Dump and Doodle, which what I do on these is, well, this one's called Dump and Doodle Too, which I thought was quite cool. But what we do on these is, I'm just going to do some doodling and talk about, it's like a brain dump. So the brain dump today, we're going to be talking about looking after yourself. I've got some notes, things like that, but I don't really know what I'm going to be talking about, which is part of the fun, I suppose. So lilDENNiS is with us. He's actually got a weapon with him. So if you're watching on YouTube at youtube.com/Sophie Lawson, you'll see lilDENNiS' weapon, which sounds a bit rude, but what happened was, I did a video in the week of the Character Design Quarterly magazine, issue number 18. lilDENNiS, when he opened the package, the thing got stuck, like the cardboard got stuck to his finger. So he's now got, like, it looks like he's holding a weapon, which is quite cool. But little kitty's with us as well, so we'll have some little kitty kisses. And lilDENNiS is going to get us right into this one. Boing! So it's time to get into this. So actually lilDENNiS and Kitty, they're going to sit over here, I think. So, but the other thing is, after this video, I'm going to actually record 14 new videos looking at issue number, the 2014 Imagine FX magazines. So today is Friday, and I just put up the last of the 2013 videos for the Imagine FX magazine. So that means I've got to record the 2014 ones. So joining us for that will be Penny the Piggy, who's a new little puppet. So that's going to be cool, I think. But what I love about doing the Imagine FX magazine is the covers. I love that about magazines. It's the covers I love the most, I think. It's exciting. For me, covers, when they've got no text on them, it's almost like a piece of artwork. That's what I think. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to be trying some new, well, not new, but I'm going to be playing around with different types of tools. So I got a fine liner. I got my favouriteest pencil for doing gesture drawings, which is the Koh-i-Noor Hard Muff. Hard Muff. Sounds a bit rude as well. But this one is a magic pen, like the lead is magic. So what happens is, when you draw with this one, you get all different colours. It's quite exciting. You get like red, blue and yellow. But because it mixes, sometimes you get like a green and stuff. So it's quite fun. And I've also got this, it's called a Faber Castell calligraphy pen, but it's a walnut brown one. So this is cool. This one's got like a chunky end to it. So again, you get like your thick and you get your thin lines as well. So this is going to be quite fun, I think. So the topic, what I thought I'd talk about is looking after yourself. So the little notes I've got, I've put eating. So like, for me it's like all about eating healthily. I got sleeping. little thing, got sleep. You got to sleep. That's what I'm starting to notice. Because if you don't sleep, you get unhappy. And then also resting. Yeah, just chilling out. See, when I think of resting, I think of trees. That's quite interesting, that. Resting. Isn't it weird how when people are sleeping, they also look like they're dead? Because when you die, you lie down. When you're asleep, you lie down. So maybe when we're sleeping, we're actually dead. That'd be quite weird, wouldn't it? What else is there? Nature. Oh, cool. Yeah, see? They're the same sort of thing. Nature and trees. It's all the same thing. I feel like looking after yourself includes nature. Time out as well. But me and my mum were talking about this morning. about time, it feels like we're speeding up. So for the time, taking the time out, I've put reading. I haven't done any reading for ages. And also podcasts, listening to podcasts. I haven't been listening to me podcasts as well. I listened to the Ascend podcast, which is one of my favouriteest sort of spiritual podcasts. I listened to the latest issue of that, the latest episode, and he was actually talking about this documentary. I don't know the name of it at the minute, but it's something like The Hidden History of the Flat Earth. And he said that documentary is about 6 hours long. Now I'm going to watch that. I'm going to watch it with my mum as well. Because what he says on it, he says, we think that the Earth is spinning. Well, we're told that the Earth is spinning. But how do you know that it is actually spinning? The only reason is because people say it is. But I've always said, unless you can get in a spaceship, get off the planet and look at it, and actually see that it's spinning, you don't really know if it's spinning. So I'm not about to start saying the Earth is flat, but I've never really thought about it that much, but you can't really say for sure that the Earth is round or that the Earth is spinning. So what he says what was he said? He said something cool. Oh yeah, because what he said, how do you know that the Earth is actually spinning? And then I've also thought about this. So my theory is, we are the centre of the universe. So we are the universe. So in other words, if I die, the universe dies. But it's the same for you as well. If you die, the universe dies, because we're each in our own universe. So what he said on that was, he said something which really connected with me. He said, if you are the centre of the universe, which you are, because you are the universe, and I feel like the universe is actually, when you look out at the universe, like the sky, the stars and stuff, I think somehow you're actually looking inside yourself in a weird way, some sort of paradoxical thing. So the sky above is actually inside of you. It's that thing I've said before. I said it was like, what I said was the creator's creations are creating the creator. In other words, the God, or the creator, whatever, it's put itself inside of its own creation in order to create itself. So what that means is you are actually inside of yourself, but you feel like you're separate, which is amazing. But he said if that's the case, you wouldn't be spinning. And I thought that was brilliant. And then I said to my mum, do you think the Earth is actually spinning? And she said no. I've never really thought about it before. But what he said was, if the Earth is spinning, you would feel, you would get spun off it. And I know that they say, like, because you're spinning with it, you're sort of part of the spinning, so you don't notice the spinning. But so it is interesting though. But so one of the things I said about was reading. What happened was, I've actually made a video about this. It'll be, I believe it's either the Wednesday coming up or the Wednesday after. I've recorded 2 videos for the next couple of Wednesdays. One of them is about these fighting fantasy books, and the other one is about puppets. So I've done a video looking at, I think it's about 30 new puppets that I've got to introduce to the podcast and stuff. And also I found 26 fighting fantasy books. And what happened was, the second-hand shop just around the corner had a box outside, and it said free. It basically said they were giving them away for free. Basically they were going to throw them away. When I looked inside, it was full of these fighting fantasy books. So I actually took them all, because I couldn't believe it. I gave them a little bit of money as well, because I thought you can't take all these books without sort of paying them for it. But the thing, I'll talk about it more in the video, but I'm really excited to sort of get into these, because what you do is, for me, these fighting fantasy books are like video games before we had video games. So what happened is, you would actually read the story, and as you went through the story, you'd have to make decisions. So if you wanted to, let's say you had to fight a monster, you could either fight it or run away. So it's like, what happens is, you come against a monster and it says, if you want to fight the monster, turn to page 300. if you want to run away, turn to 200, page 200. So what happens is you're going through the book, like making your decisions, and then you're going to get different endings. That's brilliant. And I got about 26 of these. Now when I looked on eBay, I knew that they were worth something, but what I didn't realise was some of these are worth about 40, 50 quid, like each one on their own. This is crazy. So if you're interested in those, definitely have a look at the video coming up, because what I do is on the video I basically just quickly go through each one looking at some of the images, because that's another thing, they're full of really cool artwork, really cool retro, because these were made in the 1980s. So you've got like this sort of retro fantasy and retro sci-fi artwork. It's brilliant, super immersive. But I feel like I would love to have a day where I could just do nothing but read. I feel like I need that. And it's nice to start listening to me podcasts again. I've also put meditating. So for the last week, no, not the last week, probably 2 weeks maybe, I haven't been meditating as much, which is a shame. It is a shame. But what it is I'm drawing a little man meditating. What happened was, last night I meditated for the first time in about 2 weeks, and what happened was I started to see all these faces. All these like faces, as if, imagine you had a book and you were like flicking through the pages, and each page was a different face. It was a quick succession of faces, but the thing was, some of these faces were like aliens or something. And I thought, that's a bit weird. But what happens sometimes is, when you're meditating or in a lucid dream or something, if you see something, which is quite amazing, the minute you sort of become aware of it and put your focus on it, it suddenly disappears. Almost like a little, I imagine it's like a little, imagine you're in the woods and there's a little squirrel, and the squirrel doesn't realise you're there. The squirrel like runs around having fun. But if you make a noise and the squirrel realises you're there, it runs off and hides. I sometimes feel like these images in our head, when we're meditating or something, it's the same sort of thing. It's like these visuals come to you because they don't realise. It's almost like they think you're not looking. As soon as you put your awareness or your consciousness onto the images you're seeing, it's almost like they realise and they run off and hide. Which I've always found that a little bit weird, because there must be something going on with that. Here's another one. When you draw a little house, how do you draw your houses? Because I've always drawn my houses in 2D. But my houses, whenever I draw little houses, they always look sad. It's a bit weird. But have you noticed, if you draw a house, it looks a little bit like a man. Or not a man, but a person's head with a little hat on. I think that's quite cool. Like the house, Mr. House or something. That's quite cool. And the other thing I've put is exercise. So the good thing is, I have not stopped doing my exercise. So what I do is every morning, one of the first things I do when I get up is I unravel I got like a little yoga mat. And what I do is I unravel it, and then I do some sit-ups. I do some sit-ups and stretching. I'm going to tell you something now. This is quite weird. Have you ever felt like this, where strange things happening and you're going round twist? Do you remember that? That was a children's program in I want to say the early 90s. I think they lived in a lighthouse called Round a Twist. But try this, yeah? Lie down on the floor and put your legs, lie down on the floor and put your legs like over your head, like that, so your bum is sort of, it's almost like you're really pushing your bum out, so your feet are over the top of your head. If you do that, now this is going to sound a little bit rude, I suppose, you can actually breathe through your bum. How weird is that? So what happens is, you can like, somehow you can breathe in and out through your bum, and you can feel the air going in and out of your bum. Now what happens is, if you do that for I don't know, say 4 minutes, when you put your legs back down, you'll have a massive fart. How cool is that? But there's something quite, what would I say, pleasant about breathing through your bum. Because you can feel the air coming in and out your bum, which is quite cool. So what I'm going to put here, look, eating. Let's start with eating. So I've started eating chocolate biscuits because I love chocolate biscuits, but what I do is I only eat chocolate biscuits on a Saturday and on a Wednesday. Now I'm trying to work out if that's okay. Is it okay to eat a little bit bad something like chocolate biscuits and ice cream? Is it alright, do you reckon, to have a day of eating naughty food? Or should you have only nice food every single day? I'm not sure, because sometimes I feel a little bit guilty for that. So that's the first thing I've been sort of thinking about, is what is the right balance of eating food? Like, it's quite hard for me, that one, because the thing is, what I've noticed is all the best foods, like all the best tasting foods, are normally the naughty food. So there must be a reason for that. It's a bit strange. So that's the first thing. What is the balance? What is the balance of eating food? So one of my favourite people from the past is Alan Watts, the philosopher. And what it was with him was, he was this super, for me, he was a super spiritual person, fully sort of connected with the universe for me. But the thing was, he actually smoked cigarettes and he drank alcohol. So he had some, what I would consider, naughty things. But he was probably okay with that. And then you've got other people who, what they do is they don't have anything like that at all. But the question is, who's doing it right? Is there a right or wrong way? And then I think to myself, well, if Alan Watts was okay with drinking alcohol, then like there can't be anything wrong with it. So that's a bit of a interesting one for me, that. So I feel like it is quite cool to have a Saturday eating chocolates, and then the rest of the day you're eating stuff like rice and fruit. That's what I think. So get a balance between sort of chocolate and fruit. That's what I'm thinking about food and eating. The next one is sleeping. So last night I had a massive sleep, I did. I slept for, I think it was 12 hours. Now what's weird is, because for the last few weeks I've probably been having about between, well, the maximum has been like 7 hours, but mostly it's been about 6 hours sleep every night, and it's not enough. It's not enough, it isn't. And at some point it catches up with me. So what happened was, I said, right, I've got to have a big sleep tomorrow. So I had this massive long sleep, 12 hours, but what happened was I went to sleep, and the next thing I was awake, and I had some dreams. I remember having dreams, but I can't remember anything about them, but I remember having them. So the weird thing is, because if I had been having, I like to have about 10 to 12 hours sleep a night, but at the moment I'm doing a lot of stuff on like eBay and whatnot, so it's actually eating into my sleep. So what happened is, if I was to have had 10 hours sleep every single night, last night when I had 12 hours sleep, I would have remembered loads of dreams. But because I've been having so less 666, see, that's what it is for me. A lack of sleep is like the devil. Puts you out of balance. That's what 6 is. 6 is unresolved, out of balance. So that's it. If you're not having enough sleep, you're putting yourself out of balance. So it was quite, when I woke up today, I woke up and thought, I can't believe I didn't remember any dreams when I had that much sleep. But the other thing is, I find it too easy to, like, well, what happened is I get into bed and I'll say I'll watch one YouTube video of something, and the next thing I know, I've watched loads of them, and I'll go to bed and I'll say one more, just one more before I go to sleep, and the next thing you're going to sleep like 2 hours later. So somehow I've got to say to myself, no more YouTube. Somehow I think what I've got to do is, I have thought about this. So what happens is, the reason I've got my Kindle in the bed is because it's my alarm clock for in the morning. So I have thought maybe what I should do is get myself a dedicated alarm clock and then ban all devices from my actual bed, because I sleep in a what do you call them? I sleep in a bunk bed. No, I don't. It's a high sleeper, like where you're up in the air. So I got a little ladder to get into bed and stuff, which is cool. But what happens is, when I'm in my bed, I've got my Kindle with me. So I thought maybe what I do is, because the other thing is, once I get into bed, it's quite hard to get out of bed. It's not hard, but it's like you've got to get, instead you can't just roll out of bed. You've got to actually put the effort in to get down the ladder. So I thought if I put the Kindle on the floor, it's putting a bit of it's like putting a barrier between me and YouTube when I'm actually inside my bed. So that's I've got to think about that. But if that is what I do, I'll have to buy a dedicated alarm clock. But because I'm going to these car boot sales a lot, what I could do is I could find an alarm clock at the car boot for like 50p or something. So again, what I'm noticing is this is all about balance. Balance and discipline. Yeah, it's the same thing for both of them. Eating and sleeping. Discipline to not eat naughty food. Discipline for sleeping, to say no to things that are going to stop you from sleeping. And then balance is eating naughty things and healthy things. And the balance between sleeping and working. The next one is resting. So again, it's all about nature for me, that is. Resting. I haven't been resting enough either. And what happens is, well, the other day I got this massive bruise appear on my leg. It's gone now, but I had this massive bruise on my leg from nowhere. And also what's happened at the minute is my left ear is like stuck together, because what happened was I went to sleep and I was so tired I couldn't be bothered to turn over, so I slept on my bad ear. And what happens is, when I sleep on that ear, if I sleep on that ear, it will stick together. So I'm actually going to, there's a shop called Specsavers, and they actually do this ear syringing. So on Monday, in a couple of days, I'm going to get that ear syringed. But I thought to myself, it's quite strange how I've started having a lack of sleep, and all of a sudden my body has started to sort of do some sort of, what would you call it? Well, my body started going out of balance. So my ear and my leg as well with the bruise. So I feel like it's almost like your body talks to you. I feel like the body does talk to you. It tells you things, but you got to be listening. So what I got to do is I've got to get more rest in and nature. So for me, the best way for resting is to get in nature. The only thing is, it's starting to get a bit colder now, but I always say no excuses. So the other day I went out into nature and it was raining so much, but it was fun. So that's the thing, sometimes the most fun you can have outside with nature is actually when the weather's the worst. Because when the weather's really bad, you sort of see what happens. What I think is, when the weather's bad, you see the beauty of nature. That's what I think. I love this pencil, this magic thingy. It's cool. What it's got is, it's got like a stickiness to it. So it's the way it sort of like, as you're going across the paper, it sort of sticks to the paper. It's beautiful texture. Creates really amazing lines as well, like mixes of colours. It's cool. So I'd say the next thing is nature and resting. And that's another thing really. When you're in nature, you sort of see how, you see the balance of opposites in nature. Like you've got bad weather and beautiful weather, but it's all in harmony, which is cool. Next one we got is a time out with the reading and podcasts. So I haven't been listening to me podcasts as much lately, which is a shame. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes you don't actually, sometimes it's actually nice to stop doing certain things, which is what's happened with me with drawing at the minute. I ain't doing as much drawing, but again, it's a balance thing. If you just keep doing something all the time, I don't think that's actually healthy for you. You do need to have time when you're not doing things. So like sometimes, like you might say spend a year, every day you're listening to podcasts, but it's nice to have a week where you don't listen to the podcasts, because what it does is it makes you more appreciative, I suppose, when you actually start listening to them again and stuff. It's quite, so that's another, and then the other thing is reading. I like reading, I do. And then, well, we got the meditating. Yeah, definitely got to meditate more. For me, meditation is I feel like meditation is probably the most important thing. I love meditating. But there's a weird part of me that distracts me from it. But the thing is with meditating, you only have to do like 10 minutes. You can just have a little 10-minute meditation before sleep. But my mind will, it's weird, my mind would have no problem spending an hour before bed watching stuff on YouTube, but it would actually sort of put off having a little meditation at the moment. That's where it's at the moment. But what it is it's because I've lost the habit of meditating. But I do think it's very important. And then the last one is the exercising. So I found it quite interesting that, because at the moment, I feel like at the moment, I'm in this strange transition phase of my life where I'm sort of, well, yeah, change basically. I'm at a point in my life where I'm questioning everything, like what I'm actually doing and stuff. And I found it quite interesting that the one thing that I haven't stopped doing is exercising, eating an apple every day, and that's basically it. So even the meditation I did let slip, nature I've let that slip, and resting and sleeping I've let that slip. So for me that says to me that actually eating healthy stuff and, well, I would say it says to me that exercise is the key. Or at least I value exercise more than all of these other ones. That's it really. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It's a little dump and doodle. I do like doing these. And somebody said, I said this before, hey lilDENNiS, let's see if he can hit the gong with his weapon. A little bit, watch this. Yay! So lilDENNiS has said it's game over, sunshine. And I'm going to go and record these Imagine FX magazines now. But I think there's going to be a few more of these dump and doodles, because I like doing this. It's almost like a way for me to sort of process things, get things out of my head, which I think that's quite important, is to just get things out of your head. But oh yeah, I can't wait for, I hope you enjoy the videos I've got coming up about these fighting fantasy books. One of the things I noticed was, this is quite interesting, a lot of these books, they're all to do with like fantasy and stuff like that. A lot of them have actually got what I would call reptilians. So a lot of them are depicting reptilian creatures. Now I think to myself, why is it that when we're creating what we would call negative or evil creatures in a story or something, why is it that we sort of tend to gravitate towards reptilians? Is it because we know something subconsciously? Do you reckon we maybe know that reptilians have played a part in our past as being like some sort of negative thing? So inside of us, without realising it, we've got this memory of reptilians being negative or something. And so it comes out when we're expressing ourselves without thinking. Because that's what happens. When you're drawing or writing, you get to a point where it's almost like the creativity is flowing through you. So half the time you don't even know what you're doing. And what happens is you'll start creating stuff which is what I would say is coming from the collective unconscious. I think it's Carl Jung said about that. He said that there's this creative unconscious, but also that, for me, that sounds a little bit like the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records, which is, all I see that as, the Akashic Records, I see that as like a database. It's just a database of, I would say it's a database of time. And all time is it's a bunch of experiences, like numbers. So all the databases is just a bunch of numbers, and each of those numbers, when you put them in a certain sequence, creates an experience. So all you've got to do is go into that database, which is the Akashic Records, and you can start experiencing experiences. So I can see how it's very easy to have infinite experiences inside of a database, which I think is quite cool. But I hope you enjoyed that. What I'm going to do on this is, all that's left is this week's inspirational quote. I thought what I'd do is I would open up one of these fighting fantasy books and see if there's any decent quotes in it. So I've picked up the book called Deathtrap Dungeon, and it's got like a snake on the front. But this snake is cool because it's got about like 20 eyes or something, and actually it almost looks like it's got a third eye. So it's almost like this creature's got like a head within a head, and then there's loads of them. But so I've turned to this page here, and it says, "You just have time to hear the gnome yell, 3 crowns." That's not a very interesting inspirational quote. Hey, no. See, you're not really going to get inspirational quotes out of here, I don't think. I'll try this one, look. "The river current is quite strong, and encumbered by your armour and backpack, you are unable to swim against it." I like that. That's almost as if it's saying, when you've got a lot of clutter in your life, it's going to weigh you down. So you want to travel light. Yeah, you want to travel light, because then you can actually go with the flow. How cool is that? So this week's inspirational quote comes from the book Deathtrap Dungeon by Ian Livingstone, and it is, "The river current is quite strong, and encumbered by your armour and backpack, you are unable to swim against it." Deathtrap Dungeon by Ian Livingstone. Enjoyed that.